The first time Captain Riven Ward laid eyes on the alien diplomat, she had a plasma pistol pointed at his head. "You humans lie with every breath," she hissed in flawless galactic standard, her violet eyes narrowed like twin blades. "And I'd sooner detonate my lungs than trust your kind." Riven raised both hands slowly. "Then it's lucky I'm not here to negotiate. I'm just here to survive." The woman didn't flinch. The shimmering silver of her uniform, tight at the collar and armored at the chest, marked her as Zalari High Command, a warborn caste. Her name was Vetrasai, and she was, at the moment, the only thing standing between him and death. The cell they were in used to be part of an alliance ship, a diplomatic cruiser turned prison hulk after the Sorak ambush. Now it drifted on the edge of an unstable nebula, hull breached in 3 decks, systems failing. And somewhere between the broken conduits and malfunctioning doors, Vetra and Riven had become the last 2 survivors. The irony wasn't lost on him. A human ex-soldier and a Zalari commander, species that had been at war just a decade ago, now forced to depend on each other. Vetra lowered her pistol slowly, but didn't holster it. "You humans are unpredictable. And you Zalari are predictable in the worst ways," Riven said, half smiling. "But I'm a terrible liar when I'm bleeding. So how about we get that medkit before my leg becomes optional?" She glanced down at his shredded pant leg, the crusted black around the wound. A plasma shard had burned through muscle and scraped bone. It throbbed with every heartbeat. Without a word, she tossed him a rag. "Wrap it. If you slow me down, I leave you." 2 hours later, the medbay was a wreck of floating debris and shattered glass, but Riven's leg was bound, and the emergency stim had kicked in. Vetra had found an intact food ration. She didn't offer it. He didn't ask. Instead, he leaned against the wall and watched her pace. "You keep looking for a way out," he said. "I keep looking for survival," she snapped. "Not your human optimism." He chuckled. "You think it's optimism that got me stuck in a cell with you?" She didn't respond. He let silence take over. Let the ship creak around them like a beast in its death throes. Then she spoke quietly. "I was supposed to deliver a peace accord to your kind. I trained for 10 years to speak with humans. To learn your ways. Your humor. Your chaos." Riven tilted his head. "And yet you threatened to shoot me. Because your kind ambushed my ship," she snapped. "Because your kind betrayed the treaty." He sighed. "Wasn't us. That was the Sorak. They faked our signal. Hacked comms. It's what they do." Her eyes flared, then narrowed. "You expect me to believe that?" "No," he said. "I expect you to survive with me long enough to see it with your own eyes." The ship groaned again. This time the lights dimmed. Vetra stood. "Main powers failing. We'll be dead in 3 hours." Riven stood too, leaning on a pipe. "Then we better find a shuttle. Or a transmitter." She hesitated. Then she said, "There's a maintenance dock on the lower deck. If it's intact, we might launch a beacon. That's a big if. So is trusting a human." They moved in silence, weapons drawn, past collapsed corridors and frozen bodies drifting in 0G. Once, Vetra paused and closed the eyes of a fellow Zalari soldier. Riven didn't speak, just nodded. When they reached the maintenance dock, the hatch was half-sealed with emergency foam. Riven jammed a crowbar between the frame and the wall. "This'll make noise," he warned. "Then be fast," Vetra said, watching the dark. He pried it open. The dock beyond was a dim cathedral of silence, shadows curling around ruined walls. But the emergency transmitter, cracked but intact, sat bolted on the far console. Riven hobbled forward, then froze. A sound. Skittering. From the shadows emerged a Sorak drone, twisted metal limbs, eyeless sensor dome twitching, plasma claws primed. Vetra fired first. The bolt seared through the drone's shoulder, but it lunged. Riven dove, legs screaming, and grabbed a fallen pipe. He swung as the drone reared, smashing its sensor dome. Sparks flew. The thing spasmed, then collapsed in a twitching heap. Vetra stood over it, breathing hard. "You moved fast for someone half dead," she muttered. "Reflex," he groaned. "Or fear. Take your pick." She turned back to the console. "The beacon works," she said. "Short range, but it'll ping a patrol if we're lucky." He nodded. "Then light it up." She did. The soft whine of the transmitter filled the room. They sat beside it in silence. Riven finally said, "I thought you hated us." "I did. I might still. But you didn't run. Neither did you." She met his eyes. "Maybe we were both wrong about each other." He smiled. "Maybe. Or maybe we were right, and still chose to help anyway. The beacon blinked. Outside, through the cracked viewport, stars drifted by, silent witnesses to a fragile alliance born in fire and blood. And for the first time, Vetrasai didn't reach for her weapon. She reached for hope. The beacon's light pulsed like a heartbeat in the dark. Vetrasai crouched near it, her sharp fingers dancing over the controls while Captain Riven Ward watched her from across the room. Every few minutes, he adjusted the bandage on his leg, pretending the pain wasn't crawling higher. But both of them knew the truth. They had hours, maybe less, before something else came crawling through the ducts. Or the oxygen failed. Or rescue didn't come. And yet, she hadn't left him. "We need power rerouted," Vetra said suddenly. "Auxiliary systems are draining fast. If I can patch into the reactor, I might extend the beacon's lifespan." Riven grunted, shifting his weight. "You sure? Sounds like suicide. Only if I let you come with me." He chuckled dryly. "You're starting to sound like me." She stood, brushed silver dust from her armor, and looked at him. "No, I'm starting to understand you. There's a difference." They both heard it. Faint vibrations through the hall. Then a static pop. "That wasn't reactor hum," Riven said, reaching for the makeshift crowbar he'd fashioned into a weapon. Vetra moved to the console, scanned the readout. Her fingers paused. "Ship inbound. Small signature. Not Sorak. Not Zalari. Human." Riven's brow lifted. "You think they'll help us?" Her look said it all. The human vessel docked like a ghost, silent, smooth, and fast. The kind of precision only elite crews could manage. When the airlock cycled open, 3 figures emerged in matte black armor, rifles up, helmets gleaming. Not soldiers. Mercenaries. One scanned Vetra and Riven, pausing on the blood-soaked bandage. "Your ward." "Yeah." The man lowered his rifle. Orders said retrieval, not extraction. Vetra tensed. "What does that mean?" The merc turned. "You're the package, Captain. She's an extra. Command didn't authorize non-human assets." Riven's jaw tightened. "She's the only reason I'm alive. Doesn't change the orders." Riven took a step forward, ignoring the pain. "Well, they can shove the orders. She comes or I don't." There was silence. Then one of the other mercs spoke up. "Transmitting uplink. Give us 5. They moved to the beacon, tapping into it. Vetra's eyes locked on Riven. "You'd really refuse rescue for me?" He shrugged. "Wouldn't be the first stupid thing I've done. But yeah, I would." She studied him, then looked away. "Fools die fast in my culture. Good thing I'm already half dead." 15 minutes later, the lead merc returned. "Command's response: if she's not hostile, bring her. Otherwise, leave her." Vetra didn't blink. "Define hostile." The merc smiled. "Well, if you shoot at us, it's a no." She looked at Riven, then lowered her weapon. "Fine." They moved quickly. Through the breached corridors, past the drone husks, through the floating ghosts of the crew that hadn't made it. Vetra paused once, to pull a single data core from a shattered console. Something about the way she cradled it made Riven think it was more than tech. History, maybe. Evidence. Memory. The human vessel, small and needle-shaped, was waiting. As they entered, Riven felt the shift in air pressure, the hum of reliable systems. The warmth. He didn't realize he was collapsing until Vetra caught him. He woke in a medical pod, clean linens under his back, real light overhead. Painkillers pulsed through his veins. Someone had fixed the leg. Beside the pod, Vetra sat cross-legged, still armored, still watching. "You didn't leave," he said groggily. "No," she replied. "You didn't either." He laughed weakly. "So what now?" She rose. "We land at Icarus Station in 6 hours. Debrief. Reassignment. Probably court hearings." "For who?" She glanced at the data core. "For those who betrayed peace." He blinked. "You're really going to testify against your own government?" She hesitated, then said, "I trusted them. They lied. I may not trust humans, but I trust what I saw with you." The room was silent. Then the ship lurched. Alarms blared. A voice boomed overhead. "Sorak vessel detected. Interceptors inbound. Brace for evasive maneuvers." Vetra was already moving. Riven tried to rise but groaned. She turned. "You stay. Heal. I'll fight." He reached out, grabbed her wrist. "Don't get killed." She offered a tight, fierce smile. "You humans are terrible at goodbyes. Because we don't believe in them." She was gone. The battle was chaos. Through the medbay's viewport, Riven saw flashes of light, distant streaks of ion trails, and the sickly green glow of Sorok weaponry. The human vessel dodged and fired like a wounded wolf refusing to die. He couldn't just lie there. Riven pulled himself from the bed, grabbed a sidearm from the wall locker, limped down the hallway until he reached the bridge. There he saw Vetra, helmet off, hair tangled, eyes blazing, firing from the port console, directing defensive drones. "Nice of you to join us," she snapped without looking. "Couldn't let you hog all the heroics." The merc captain barked. "We're taking damage. We need a miracle." Vetra stared at the tactical map. "We can pulse the core, fry their sensors, but we'll be blind too." Riven nodded. "Do it. I'll take manual controls. You can't fly with one leg. I've flown with worse." She hesitated, then said, "On my mark now." The lights dimmed. Power rerouted. Systems blinked dead, then alive again. The Sorok vessel staggered. Two veered off course. Riven gritted his teeth and pushed the ship into a spiraling dive, weapons flaring, skimming the gravity well of a nearby moon. The G-forces crushed him, pain sang in every nerve, but he held. Vetra stabilized the guidance, fired a last burst. One enemy ship exploded in a blossom of white fire. The second retreated. Silence returned. Later, Riven and Vetra sat in the cargo bay, shoulders bruised, eyes hollow, hearts thudding. "You fought an army," she whispered. "I fought beside you," he corrected. She looked at him, and this time there was no wall between them. "I don't trust humans," she said. "But I trust you." He nodded. "That's enough." And as Icarus Station loomed into view, its lights like stars welcoming them home, Vetra rested her hand gently on his. They had survived betrayal, blood, and fire. Now came the harder part. Peace. Together. Vetra's sigh stood before the high tribunal of Icarus Station, the lights above her casting harsh shadows across the chamber. Her armor had been cleaned, but the scorched seams and pitted metal refused to be silenced. Her voice was steady, yet every word she spoke to the assembled delegates of the Galactic Council drove a knife deeper into her former loyalties. The peace treaty was sabotaged by internal factions within both the Zalari High Command and the Terran Strategic Bureau. The Sorok were tools, not masterminds. They were fed false intelligence by rogue operatives who profited from war. The murmurs across the chamber buzzed like insects. Behind her, Riven Ward stood with his legs still braced, arms crossed, every inch the soldier turned witness. The data core Vetra had carried through fire, and drone ambushes now rested inside the central node. Its evidence, battle logs, intercepted messages, command overrides, was irrefutable. The lead judge, a thick-browed Polari with transparent skin, leaned forward. "And you risked your life, Commander Sai, to bring this to us?" She looked at Riven, then nodded. "Yes." The judge turned to Riven. "And you violated direct orders to bring her aboard?" He smiled faintly. "I don't take orders from cowards." Gasps echoed. Someone chuckled. The judge didn't. "You both realize the cost of this testimony?" Vetra said, "Yes." And Riven added, "It's worth it." The tribunal recessed. Journalists exploded with questions. Council members stormed away or circled like wolves. And in the center of it all, Vetra and Riven stood back to back like soldiers surrounded but unbroken. They didn't speak again until they were alone, inside the station's medical wing, where Riven's latest scan confirmed his leg would need another surgery. His third. "You don't regret it?" he asked. Vetra shook her head. "Do you?" "No. But I might regret the part where we didn't shoot the merc captain before the debrief." She smiled, just barely. "I considered it. But peace doesn't come easy." Within days, they were labeled heroes by some, traitors by others. The Sorok began internal purges. Zalari dissidents sought sanctuary on neutral colonies. The Terran Strategic Bureau quietly dissolved the division responsible for the failed ambush. A fragile new treaty began to form, and with it came silence. Riven was grounded, medically unfit for combat, but not for pain. Vetra, meanwhile, was offered a post on the Joint Human-Zalari Task Force. She declined. Officially. Unofficially, she stayed close to Riven. 6 weeks later, a communication relay on the fringe of known space went dark. Pirate activity was suspected. A joint recon mission was dispatched. Vetra and Riven weren't on the roster. They volunteered anyway. The shuttle Mercy Drift was old, patched from 3 different hulls, and ran on more luck than logic. But it was quiet, and it was theirs. "You're sure about this?" he asked as they powered up. She nodded. They need people who aren't afraid to see things clearly, even in the dark. He eased into the co-pilot seat. Well then, let's go find some trouble. Trouble found them before they jumped. A distress signal. Faint. Zalari signature, but heavily distorted. Vetra adjusted the receiver. That's old code. Pre-treaty. Someone's using a ghost channel. Riven leaned forward. Location. She tapped coordinates. It's coming from the drift line. That's contested space. He smiled grimly. Then let's contest it. The signal led them to a dead asteroid field. The kind of place people disappeared into. They found the wreck. A Zalari freighter, its hull breached, life support failing. Inside, 30 survivors, mostly civilians, some injured. One child clinging to a doll with a missing eye. Vetra moved like a shadow between them, speaking soft words in their tongue. They recognized her uniform. Trusted her. Riven patched into the mainframe. Found logs of a pirate ambush. And worse, coordinates for the next strike. A relief convoy headed to a human mining colony. We don't have time, he said. We warn the convoy or they die. But these people, she began, will die too if we do nothing. She looked at the child, then nodded. We split, she said. You go. I stay. I'll keep them alive. He hesitated. We don't separate. We do if it means saving them. He stared at her, something hard in his throat, then handed her the emergency beacon. If I don't make it back, you will. And then he was gone. He made it. Barely. His warning reached the convoy 5 minutes before the pirates arrived. The escort ships turned the tide, and the ambush failed. But Riven's shuttle was hit during escape. By the time Vetra reached him again, he was unconscious, blood crusted on his collar, but breathing. He woke to her voice. You stupid, stubborn human, she said, holding his hand. You fought for me. For them. For all of it. He smiled weakly. I thought you didn't trust humans. I trust you, she said again. That's enough. Weeks passed. The convoy was safe. The rescued freighter crew was relocated. And Riven healed again. Together, they stood before the new Human Zalari Council, not as soldiers or diplomats, but something far more dangerous. Hope. On the edge of a reclaimed station orbiting a nameless world, Riven handed Vetra a datapad. She read it, smiled. Another recon mission? Yeah, but this one's further out, way past the charts. She looked at him. And why would we go? Because out there, no one knows what humans or Zalari are supposed to be. Out there, we start fresh. She stepped beside him, shoulder to shoulder. And this time, she said, we trust each other from the beginning. The stars lit up before them. And together, they jumped into the unknown. Not as enemies. Not even as allies. But as something new. Partners. Maybe more.